Well, what's the cracking? Welcome to episode 14 of the Harden Up Podcast. My name is Tom Mahony.
My name is Owen. How are we, folks? How are we getting on?
I think you look sprightly and excited. Look at you. You just, the sun is gleaming off the side of your face. Your beard looks more than groomed. And there's like palm trees beside you and everything. Why isn't there a cocktail in your hand? What's the crack?
I'm driving at the moment, so I can't be drinking cocktails. But when I do park the car up, or when I do get home, I'll be having a few cocktails, aka vodka and Red Bull. I know, just outside the gaff, really. Here, that's just like the neighbour's plant.
It looks the job.
It looks like I'm away in Spain, but actually, no, I'm over here in Mayo still.
So
for better or for worse, it's been lashing.
Do you know the typical when you're away on holiday? So what time is it there, Owen? Huh?
It's time to have a drink, I think. I know, 20 past 8, but to be honest, I haven't really been watching the time all day. It's been lashing outside, so I've just been inside cocooning and watching a new show on Netflix called Dark. I don't even know if it's a new series, but it's on Netflix. It's called Dark. And it's a load of German people.
I saw the first one, and I've been teeing up to watch the second one. I'm still not even fully sure what was going on after watching a full series of it.
Oh, I'd be watching it intently, not knowing what's going on. My missus to be like, you know who that lad is? And I'm like, is he the lad that killed the one that's dead? And she's like, no, there's nobody dead. Like, what are you talking? I just get very lost, and then I have to watch things 4 or 5 times. So I was Googling the synopsis of each episode just to keep up.
Oh, that's a good idea. I started watching a show called, it's older, it's on Amazon Prime, but sure, you'd find it anywhere. You can download it illegally. But for the next few weeks, we have Amazon Prime anyway, ourselves signed up to it. But it's called The Man in the High Castle.
All right. Any good?
Oh, it's very good. Very good. It's based on a kind of dystopian past. That sounds very fancy there. But what it is if the Nazis and the Japanese won the Second World War, how America would look. And they basically they split America up the middle. The Japanese have one side and the whatchamacallit have the other side. The Germans. It's mental. It's mental the way things would have played out.
Is it meant to be set in America?
Oh yeah, it is set in America, but it's now the United States of the Reichland or whatever. Like,
and is there Japanese like knocking around the west of it? Is it?
Exactly. The Japanese got the west coast, and then there's kind of a dead zone running up the middle, a neutral zone, and then the Germans got probably 2/3 of it. Of course, you knew they would, like the Whoers. They got 2/3 all the way up, and their head place is in New York. Like it's very well done, but it's. I watched it not just on the advice of somebody, and it was like, oh fucking hell! I had no idea what was about to happen. Next thing you're going, hold on a fucking minute. That's Times Square is covered in swastikas. Lads, I'm all over this.
How did they do that, Tom? How did they manage to shoot that with the swastikas and everything in Times Square? Like, did they just screen them in or what?
Oh, they'd have to. Yeah, you know, I'm not going to pretend you'd know more about it than me, but the only thing I'd compare it to was we were doing, what TV show was it? I can't remember. It was over in Ardmore Studios, right? And we're inside, it's Damo and Ivor, the second series, I think. Anyway, and inside they have a fucking hangar of this building, and down one end of it, tis like the gable end. It's just a big, like we're talking 80 foot high by 300 foot wide green screen, and they put it up for Penny Dreadful, and all of Penny Dreadful, any of the city shots of any sort, it was all in Wicklow, indoors. So.
Yeah, I don't know about. I don't know. Do I like that whole green screen crack? Because it kind of. I mean, obviously with the swastikas and stuff like that, you kind of have to do it. But sometimes when you watch movies with Tom Cruise and you see how they've green screened him into some bit of it, but it kind of throws you off the movie a small bit. I think they're too heavy on the green screen nowadays. But in saying that though, Tom Cruise is a great man for doing his own stunts. So I take all that back.
Sorry, Tom, if you're listening.
Listen, Tom. or Jamie Foxx, if you listen to this, can you pass it on to Katie Holmes, who will hopefully pass it on to Tom, that I didn't mean it.
Can you imagine the obscurity of Tom Cruise listening to our podcast? Just to get, you know what I mean? If he was Googling, you know, he used to play a West of Ireland character or a fucking South Tipperary character, he just typed that in and our podcast came up. he went, I'm going to listen to these guys intensely. Can you, like I'd say he'd jack the old Scientology after a couple episodes listen to us.
I would say so. You know what I was actually reading about Scientology a good few weeks ago? They have a bunker. They have a bunker for emergencies, and they reckon that Tom Cruise is now in a bunker because of the whole COVID crack and the protests and everything like that. It's kind of like they have a name for it, Operation, Craziness or whatever. And he's gone down to the bunker, and he's down there with Dave. Your man is called Dave McSavage. It sounds like Dave McSavage, but it's Dave McSavage. And he's down there in the bunker somewhere off the coast, not off the coast, but somewhere in LA, in an underground bunker.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine McSavage down in a hole with Tom Cruise? That is a reality show I'd want to watch.
Oh yeah, I'd pay big money for that. But it's called The Hole, I think. The place is called The Hole.
Fucking imaginations, haven't they?
Fucking do too. Fucking do. But
what do we call it, lads? What is it? A hole? Well, fucking there you go.
Why don't you stick with that and head for a few pints? That was definitely a 5 p.m. name on a Friday where you're like, you know what? Let's just give it any name. We need to go for pints tonight.
I'd say it could be 3:30 on a Friday. I'd say. Oh, the hole. Are we sticking with the hole, lads? Look at, and else we did a survey. Turns out everybody else got confused by the cruiser bunker we were calling it, but now we're just going to call it the fucking owl hole. It's a queer one, isn't it? Like,
but as you were saying, yeah.
Oh, I was only thinking, like, how do you, like, Cruise, like, gets to 40 years of age, would say, or 35 or 40 years of age, being maybe no religion or born a religion. How do you convince a fella to come on in? We're going to go up in a spaceship, and there'll only be a handful of us saved now. So you come on in, and we're going to teach you everything you need to know about Scientology. What do you think about that? What the fuck would draw that man in around the place? Who, do you know?
I suppose it might be something to do with power, maybe, because it seems like he's the head of Scientology, like the branded face of Scientology. So maybe it's given him a new kind of lease of power that he never had in the acting game. It's hard to know, but I don't know why he does it, because it's like completely made up, that shite. I don't know how anyone would ever fall for that. Like, that was just some lad in the 50s or 60s that started writing shite. Science fiction, no?
It was the same fella that wrote Battlefield Earth. Do you remember the one with John Travolta? It was a fucking brutal movie.
Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I seen that movie. It was gonnish.
I wonder, and it just dawned on me there. Do you reckon he was, because he was a bad fucking film writer or whatever, do you reckon he wrote Scientology by accident, and somebody picked up on it and went, man, this is awesome, can we join? And he went, would you give me a few pound? I'll fucking give you everything I have. Oh yeah, it's a religion, so yeah.
I think so. And I combine that with living in America, which is a crazy place, like, and it just produces crazy people. I'd say he was writing it at one point thinking it was science fiction, and then he said, maybe this is real, actually. He probably confused himself.
I suppose the old ayahuasca and the mushrooms or whatever he must have been on they would have thrown him sideways.
That'd soon push me over the line.
Yeah,
exactly. But no, it's very, very strange indeed, yeah.
And if a load of people were offering you a ball of money to join, you go on, sure.
Do it. Yeah, do it, definitely. But I'd love to get stuck into it. I'd love to get in there and see what they're doing, and just have a look around and see what kind of stuff they're doing. And is anybody getting sacrificed, do you reckon?
Oh, I very much doubt they'd want to sacrifice us. But I tell you something, they're after opening a big place in Tala, right? Fucking massive place in Tala, the Scientologists. And
no way.
Yeah. And in Tala, I tell you, some one of the days we need to sit down and interview one of these boys, because they wouldn't turn us away. I reckon they'd go, oh, of course. And we'd never get a look inside the doors of the sacrificial chamber. We wouldn't. But a mate of mine, she was actors are always looking for rehearsal spaces. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they needed a rehearsal space for 2 weeks, and the Scientologist crowd had advertised hall to rent. You know, we've a fucking hall there, lads, if you want it. And they went, fuck, yeah. And just small money, like, you know, they went, this is fucking unreal. Tala, right by the fucking, the old Lewis and everything. And in they went, and they're rehearsing away day one. Out the boys came with sandwiches and fucking biscuits and
Scientology
tea.
sandwiches. Scientology custard creams. Fuck me. Jesus, that's I didn't think they'd be that loose with opening up the doors though. I thought they'd be tighter with that.
But you see, you need to know who they're opening it up to. So in the world, and I was thinking about this because all of a sudden there was always two fellas stood in the corners and watched you all the time. Just said, "Look, lads, it's the way we have to do it." You know what I mean? Nearly like this, communist fucking Germany or whatever. But they were standing in the corners of the room, and every so often the boys would wander over to one of the actors if they were out of, stepping out of the scene or whatever they go. So, what do you be doing yourself in the afternoons? Is it all good at home and all the rest? So they're looking for vulnerable people. And that's sure you find the world of them in acting, sure. You know what I mean?
Right.
Lads who are lost, like,
Yeah. Well, I suppose in every industry there's, and we all go through different phases where we're all a bit vulnerable. But yeah, that's a bit bad form, like where they're doing that kind of shit, because that's trying to pick on the weak, nearly,
But sure, that's what a cult does, man. That's what a cult does.
Yeah.
Like, they're not renting that hall out to the IFA farmers, like, you know what I mean, to talk about their AGM,
Yeah, because they know whether the farmers are telling them to go fuck themselves.
And bring on more of them fucking biscuits.
Do you reckon there's any farmers in Ireland that are Scientologists?
Oh my God. They're not farming fucking normal dairy or sheep anyway, that's for sure. But yeah.
They're building their own fucking not ground zero, but they're building their own, their hole. I don't know, bales.
Would you do, not Scientology, but would you if you had, well, maybe we should build a bunker back in fucking Mayo. We just buy maybe a half acre of badland, couple of fucking truck containers, and we fuck the whole lot into it, make a little city underground.
Unbelievable. I'd love that.
I reckon it'll work too, because the Americans have everybody driven mad with the doomsday prepping. I reckon we could rent out an old spot to a few people if they're willing to pay enough.
Do I reckon it could be a thing in the future. The way things are going, people are freaking out. I think building underground bunkers might be the way to go.
That or go up a fucking mountain or some fucking thing. Yeah, but getting back to the old Scientology thing, listening into a few people, like the Mormons are stone fucking mad as well. The Mormons, they're some boys. They're
cute.
They are cute out by. They have any amount of bunkers. They have any amount of storage. They are armed to the fucking teeth as well, the Mormons.
Oh yeah. They're where Utah and New Mexico and places, aren't they?
They are armed up to the bollocks, they are.
Yeah. They were stopping the Mexican cartel boys coming in at one point. I seen a documentary, and I think they were giving out saying like that the local police weren't doing much, so they all started buying guns, and then I think they ran the Mexican cartel out of some town or city on the border there.
Mother, that takes some firepower.
Oh man, you'd want to be glocked up to the last. You'd want to have a gun in every pocket. Fuckers.
I think they tried to form their own country back in the early part of the 1900s. I think they went, fuck back, we want Utah for ourselves, and then they nearly got it. They were armed to the bollocks. They were.
Wow. I don't know how. All I know about them is that do they believe that Jesus came to America? Is that what they believe in?
Oh, I don't know who that is. Maybe no. They believe their founder, when he was only 14 years of age. I know it could be wrong that it was based on a 14-year-old, but their founder found 2 gold tablets that basically seer stones. They mightn't have been gold. They might have been stone, actually, given the name. But they basically it gave the scripture of what the Mormons are all about, and he brought that forth to the lads. Again, it sounds like a made-uppy story of the highest order, but it like Chinese whispers, Owen. It just, they fucking ran with it, lad.
Would you ever live in America?
We talked about it before, myself and ourselves.
Yeah.
And I I mean, pre the last 4 years. Had you asked me 4 years ago, I would have said, "Yep, I would." But the last 4 years have been hairy enough, like.
Yeah, that's the thing, you see. But in a way, though, I think that the hairiness, you know, for better or for worse, it does produce a lot of very funny and talented and interesting people. Like America is full of headers, and they're all kind of like, they're all perfect for social media, if you know what I mean, or YouTube. There's a lot of YouTube characters day to day knocking around in America. I know there's loads in Ireland, but it seems like America, they're in every single village in town.
Yeah. I mean, the few places that I've seen, all right, like that. I just had a mad encounters with everywhere, like. But everything,
Yeah.
do you know, like everything seems to. I remember I was on the subway in New York one time, and this fella, I was there with the cousin, and this fella just pipes up. He goes, "You Irish?" And I was like, "Oh, I am, yeah." And even the cousin was like, "Cousin been there years, you know," and he could spot by the head in this mad cunt. Now here we go, like, and I am, yeah. I says, so can you? He started rearing up about American football. I says, "Lad, I won't lie, I don't know anything about it." He goes, "What?" Basically, he was saying that I was right not to know anything about it. They call it football, and they don't even fucking kick it. I was like, "Okay, right enough." they should call it throw ball. I went, "Fuck it, yeah, maybe you should write a letter to somebody about that somewhere." Just yeah, and they. You have to get off then, like, you know, you have to squeeze by him. Oh, you know, but every fucking place I went, there was a stone mad fucking header. Like, with the volume, you're right, like the volume of them. Even in quiet spots down in Florida, fucking mad jokes, like.
Yeah. But the thing, again, like I think that's why they're perfectly suited for social media over there, because you could walk, like, did you ever see that lad, no, all gas, no brakes?
No.
He's this lad in America, and he goes to different towns if there's something happening, like a protest or there's like a convention or something like that. But he went to a few of the different looting, you know, the people that are looting now in America. He literally walked into the shop where people are looting as it's on fire, as there's alarm going off, as there's lads carrying TVs out of the place or smashing things up. And he's just in there, and he's a real kind of, he looks a bit like Napoleon Dynamite, and he's got a microphone. He's like, "So, what kind of TV you get?" And then he's just like, these guys are like, "Oh man, I'm at fuck, that's all." And it's just the crazy stuff they're saying, but it's nobody really cares, because it's just, everything is Wild West over there, you know.
For the light, that's now that you point that out, that's a perfect place to go do that shit. Like, I think I'd like to go to. I've been listening to Willie Nelson over the last week. I realized fucking class. Like, I'd forgotten how
he's
classy
a legend.
he
We
is.
listen to his music.
Yeah. He has a lot of fucking really good stuff. Like, it isn't all just straight up country. Like, he's original style country. Like, but I started thinking, geez, I'd love to hang out with Willie Nelson for a week. Do you know what I mean? I probably wouldn't last a week.
But one time, Tom, I was listening to Howard Stern's podcast, and Howard Stern said, "So you spent a lot of time with Willie Nelson down there," and I think they were in California, in back, but side of California, and was saying to Woody Harrelson, "Do you guys smoke a lot of weed?" And Woody Harrelson's like, "Oh yeah, kinda." And he goes, "Well, like, would you smoke like I don't know, 20 joints a day?" And Woody Harrelson goes, "Yeah, that'd be on a very, very slow day." And like, Willie Nelson's about fucking 70. And another, Snoop Dogg said the only man that, I think he said, was Willie Nelson.
The only man that could beat him.
The only man that could outsmoke him.
Fuck. I just started thinking, you know, fucking, I wouldn't mind going around with Willie on his bus, you know, tipping around, seeing the likes of Nashville and fucking, you know, these places, like.
Yeah.
Because, like, I drive through Nashville and they go, "Who's that cunt?" But if you're going around with Willie Nelson, you're getting the full experience, like, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. Although I could see you knocking around Nashville, and I wouldn't question you. I'd say, "I know that lad fits in very well," especially with the mullet coming through, you know.
Oh yeah, you know, something that I have not experienced, I think, ever in my life. I jumped down off a yoke the other day, and my hair actually did this, Owen.
All right.
It actually, like, it flopped.
How did that make you feel?
Two ways, three ways. It was deep and complex in that I was I laughed for a moment, but then I was kind of ashamed of myself for my hair getting so long and effeminate. And then I kind of liked it, in a fucking a sadistic way. Like, sure, I ran across the road the other day, and it was a moment that actually you could never capture with social media. Do you know there are certain things you can't capture with social media?
Yeah.
Like we were talking the other day about that sketch I sent you and you reading it. That moment of you reading it could never be caught on. I was walking across in front of traffic the other day in Bray Town, a small fucking road I was crossing, and a car just happened to come on, and I jogged for a second, and I could see my shadow on the ground, and I could see my mullet flowing in the wind.
Oh, that's poetry, Tom. That's bloody poetry.
I swear to God, the world slowed down for about what felt like about 5 seconds. Obviously, I was across the road in half a second, but it just seemed to it just went up and down.
Oh, I'm tempted to get one, Tom. I swear to God, the more I look at yours, the more tempted I am to get one.
I'm getting to the barber hopefully this week now to tighten up the sides, and we'll sort out the top a bit, and then we'll get the back going, because it was in that moment when I was running across the road that as it was flipping in the wind behind me, I was like, and I howled laughing, and this old woman was waiting to cross the road, and I ran past her fucking howling like a maniacal lunatic. She must have looked at me and went, what? Because when he took off running, he wasn't laughing. I had that usual, that face of a man who's trying to run across the road there. I'm running and walking.
Yeah.
But then I saw my own shadow on the ground. Even your man in the car must have been going, geez, that fella's a bit simple. Is he all right?
What does the family and friends think about it?
The woman loves it. She thinks it's the bee's
nice.
knees. She just thinks she goes, just go ahead and cut all the sleeves off your shirt, Tom. Because I think, she's stone mad. She's stone mad. And she thinks the moustache cracks her up every time she sees it. The mullet, she's like, absolutely, man. Grow that thing down to your ass like Dog the Bounty Hunter. Why not? Fuck it.
Oh, I'm going to do that. Tom, you've inspired me, because I've had this fucking stupid goatee all my life, and I've never had a mullet. I had the David Beckham look for about 10 minutes in the 90s, but I might go for the mullet. I like it. I like it a lot.
Do you know what? It's big. I've noticed it's big in fashion in the Southern Hemisphere. Like South Africa, New Zealand, especially New Zealand. A lot of lads grow out the mullet. It's a haircut. And I was in Centra the other day. Jeez, I knew I had to tell you about this. I should have fucking written it down in the car not to forget it. But I went into Centra the other day, and the next thing, your man behind the counter, I was just getting a few bits. Your man behind the counter, now he'd mad curly hair, but he'd grown a mullet as well, but it had grown thick like a wire, like a fucking Brillo pad straight off the back of his head. But you could see him, I swear to God, he kind of looked around the side of my head and kind of looked back and gave me a look as if to say,
you're one of us.
Hey, kid.
I wonder, is there like a mullet convention where the boys to meet up and they just kind of brush each other's mullets?
I fucking hope so.
Oh, man. I wonder, is there different mullet creams and stuff like that and mousses you can get just specifically for the mullet?
I don't know what. I'm going to get mine thinned ever so slightly. It's grown very thick at the back, so it's kind of grown out. Yeah. So I'm going to get it thin so that it comes down the way and flicks out. I want it to flick out like a real 1980s. Oh, yeah. Do you remember, did you ever see Stranger Things?
Yes, yeah. I've seen a bit of it now. I didn't see all of it.
There was in the second series, the guy who, he was kind of the heartthrob, and then he turned into the baddie. But he had a fucking mullet on, like, topless motorcycle kind of mullet. There's
well greened, like a good, like a nice garden bush.
Oh, like fucking topiary, fucking top end stuff now. Like I could only dream to have that kind of hair and hair product. But I think it's good. I go to I just need to find the right barber. That's the thing, Owen. I need to find the right barber.
I wouldn't go too hard. I wouldn't take everything off the top either. Like, the top looks good too.
Oh.
The kind of spiky bit there in the middle.
Yeah.
I like almost like maybe have it the way it's going and then widen it at the back and then have it, almost like it's just one long sort of like streak of, it's like one massive mullet,
like almost
starting at the front.
I'd be like a rooster. Do you know what I mean? Just fucking, and I just start strutting my stuff around when the pub's open again. I just start strutting my stuff around.
Do you know what? You know what I always hated though. I've never liked it. Do you ever see those pencil beards that lads have? Like Craig David was one of the first lads to ever have one.
Oh,
It's
sure.
just like a line around. It's like a bulb.
You're going to hate me.
To,
I had one for about 7 or 8 months back in like 98, 99.
Oh no! That's all right. That's all right.
Oh, if they're going nowadays, get a fucking grip, man. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. Oh, we all had shocking. Like, do you ever look back at your own stuff back in the 90s, your fashion, or like? I had a massive jacket, and it just on the front of it said Italia, and I thought that was the greatest jacket I ever bought in my life till the day I lost it. But it was just when I look back at pictures, I'm like, someone should have just shot me.
Hold 1 second. I need to get a charger for this joke. 1 second.
No worries. Oh, sorry. There you are, Tom. Sorry, the screen flashed up, but you're not on it, and then you just flashed into it.
And that quick. That's the mullet has speeded me up that fucking much on. But you know what? In the places I've been, and I've seen people do a couple of double takes, but you know you have the mask on anyway and stuff.
Yeah.
I was definitely noticed a bit of admiration coming from like dad-aged fellas. You know what I mean? Fellas
Right.
kind of looking on like, yeah, fucking good man. You know, like
you're giving me ideas, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe they're living vicariously through me because they know they full well they couldn't let, you know, the woman at home wouldn't let them grow that look, like, you know.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because, you know, like day to day, you look at people and everyone's kind of dressed relatively the same. You've relatively the same shoes or tattoos or whatever, like, you know, your facial stuff. But like when a lad has a mullet or when someone is dressed outlandish, I always look at them, especially nowadays, I try to make myself very aware that they're doing something that not everyone else is doing. And you're kind of like, you know what, fair fucking play to them. Because, you know, like my mother, if I had a mullet, my mother would be like, get rid of that mullet, will you? Or if I had a piercing underneath my lip before, she was like, get rid of it. You don't want that. Or anytime I got a piercing or anytime I got something that, like, I had a black shirt with a dragon on the back of it before, but she was like, oh, that's going. She actually fucking stole it on me. But, you know, I appreciate it, and I'm sure other men do when they see a man with the mullet, or, you know, maybe even like, even if a lad has just like got a Ronnie, I'm like, you know what, fucking fair play to them, because it's just like you're taking a chance.
And it takes a certain type of do you know what? I was kind of egged on by herself too. She goes, I dare you, I bet you wouldn't grow a mullet. I said, look, we have the fucking lockdown. It's the perfect time to fucking grow out the fucking locks. And then she tidied up the sides of it. So, but I'm going to get the barber now to just, as you said, maybe leave the top as it is, but tidy up the sides, like, and just make the mullet more pronounced. I want it to arrive, you know what I mean? Like on scene.
You want people to see the mullet first and then Tom after. Like, you should stand down alleyways and just have the mullet peeking out the side of the alley. It's like, that Tom. You know what you need to get next as well? A motorbike and a jacket. I'll sell you a jacket, Tom. I'll sell you a jacket for the mullet. I have the perfect jacket for you. 25 quid and I'll throw in a mullet brush.
I don't even know. I don't know if I want it dead straight. Remember John Daly, the golfer back in the day?
Yeah.
The big fat golfer who smoked fag. Who didn't love John Daly? Like, you know what I mean?
What a legend.
Smoking fags, and then he knew he was going to be disqualified. I think I may be wrong, but off some. And he, instead of you putting down a tee, he put down a can of beer and put the ball on top of it and cracked it off the top of the can. On like the PGA Tour. Like.
Do you know, that's another good point, Tom. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but like lads like that who are like, not to say that smoking, you should be smoking or you should be drinking or whatever, but the last few months I've been really trying to get my life on track, like kind of work-wise, and do to-do lists and always trying to improve and always trying to be reading. I've been trying to do like 5 or 6 things every day. And I went through about 3 weeks of doing, like, hitting my to-do list perfectly. And yet at the end of it, I didn't even feel happy. And I was like, fuck, why am I so, I felt like I wasn't myself anymore, you know? And I think half the point of life is to do things that, like, sorry, not to do things that you don't want to do, but half the point of life is just to, just to, I suppose, like, just embrace the fact that we're all daft header fucking silly fuckers, So like the likes of your man smoking while he's playing golf, like cigarette smoking is obviously bad for you, but at the same time, it's kind of like when you do smoke, it's kind of like fuck life, in a kind of liberating way, if that makes sense. Even though I know it's not liberating to smoke, but do you know what I'm getting at? It's kind of like
totally know
sometimes when your life is too structured, you've lost all essence of the sort of the wild side of your character, which is kind of a lot to do, a big part of your personality.
See, this is the thing, and sometimes you hear friends say to me, "Oh, well, you have to schedule a day to go out," and I know, and we've talked on this for people, you know what I mean, to have their little to-do list, and then you'll be happy by the end of it. But you do need to factor in that there'll be times when you just need to fucking close the laptop or whatever and head off and be a wild cunt like for a while, But
oh yeah,
and it's. I can see why people would go fucking queer too at the weekends, like when you head off to places, and sometimes it's hard, especially when we do what we do, like you know what I mean. Being comedians, you'll learn nothing, and you'll have no new experiences. You need new experiences. You need to fuck off and be wild and stuff.
That's it. You need new experiences, 100%. You need to be doing things to stimulate the mind in every industry. But I suppose if you're trying to write stand-up comedy, you definitely need to be at something.
Well, do you remember also you were talking about that you almost sanitize your own wild world, like, by giving up the fags, minding the drink and fucking getting through your notes. And do you remember
sanitizing your own wild world? That's the Couldn't put it better myself. Yeah.
Did you ever see Demolition Man? Do you remember with Stallone?
Yeah.
When he
seen it. I could fucking quote every line of it. No, I've seen it about 10 times.
Is it Rat Burger? Well, do you remember he came back and Sandra Bullock's character was mad about him, like, and everybody else is so sanitized and so clean and straight and everything, and he was like, "Fuck this mother," when he needed the fucking paper to use the toilet. And, I'm not saying I'm not saying that. Okay, that's an extreme example. But to be honest, as the listeners will know, at any excuse to try and squeeze in an example that has either Sylvester Stallone, or Dolph Lundgren, or Chuck Norris into it, I'll use it. But I think people get what I'm talking about. Is there's a healthy amount of fucking wildness has to be had too. Like, and this lockdown has kind of fucked us up a small bit. Maybe it's reset us a bit too. Like, that maybe we were going too hard in one direction, i.e. the pub. And I see lads there on Instagram who would have never fucking put up a tent peg before, are camping the whole time now because it's the only bit of crack they can have around the place. Like,
Yeah. Oh no, definitely, that's good. Like, it's always good to. Like, I think the most important thing in life is probably to look after your own mind. And I'm not saying to go out drinking and smoking and doing drugs every day of the week, but you don't want to sanitize yourself too much, as you said. You don't want to be so, like, if you take, for example, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who I think is an absolute legend. Sometimes when you look at his life, it's almost too formulaic. It's almost like too linear. Of like, this is what I'm doing today, this is what I'm doing tomorrow. But sometimes, you walk down the road and you go into someone's house because the sign outside that says they're selling duck eggs. Yeah. And you end up having a great conversation with them, and they're like, "Oh, sure, I knew your uncle when he was over in Birmingham." And then you're having a cup of tea with some lad, and he says, "Do you want a bit of a tightener in the tea?" And then you end up having a couple of hot whiskies with the man you don't even know, and you make love to him. No, but apart from the making love, but everything else is kind of like, it's something beautiful about this spontaneity of life.
We did it, like on our honeymoon, we'd planned nothing really bar where we were going to stay. And like I said, we went to Mayo for our honeymoon. And other people were looking at us queer going, why don't you go to, the Seychelles and stuff? And you'd nearly blow as much money staying in Ireland. But we were like, no, because what the fuck will we find there only an old fucking resort that looks the same as every other place? And by day 2 in Mayo, we were dry. Like I said, in Foxford, we ended up in, was it the Maritime Museum or something like?
And, yeah.
But we love the fucking weirdness of that moment. Like, we found out stuff that we would have never found out. I ended up going into this little brick and brack shop where this woman coaxed us in the door. She basically, she had a kind of a little beard on her, a little beardine, as you'd call it yourself. And I was fascinated by this little, she was like a little Mogwai or something out of fucking Star Wars. And she coaxed us in the door, and before we knew it, Natasha wanted to buy a fucking sewing machine. I says, I'm not bringing a fucking sewing machine. Come on. And the next thing,
singer job.
To a singer. To a singer. Yeah, she's the old pedally job.
Oh, yeah, the pedal job, yeah.
You know, and I says, the mother can give you her one if you want. I says, I'm not fucking hauling a big cast iron fucking yoke all the way back from Mayo. I said that, and she went, no, you're right enough. And then I bought an anvil off the woman. So
double standards, Tom.
Double standards.
This is pre-mullet.
This is pre-mullet. Pre-mullet. Now I wouldn't even ask. I just fucking take it. And slap everybody's arse.
On the back of the motorbike too.
I have a basket on the back. I do love that notion that you would, you got if there's now some people don't maybe really, really benefit for a structured fucking life, but the likes of you and me and our lives would probably melt post people's fucking, brains, where it's like, you'd never know what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks. That's not how people, want to live or whatever. But, and we definitely, there's a question coming up, we won't run over this too much. There's a question coming up in the listeners' questions that we could probably dip into that a little bit that is relative to it. But I wanted to talk to you. Jesus Christ, we're ripping around the place here. I wanted to talk to you.
What are we into? How long are we into?
We're 40 minutes in. Yeah, so that's what beautiful waffling. Some great thoughts out of you today. I think the big complimentary thing has been my mullet, and I will let you talk all day if you want to compliment my mullet, essentially.
No, I like it. I like it. It's inspired me. I think I'm going to give it a go.
Because people have been taking the piss, but I think it's coming from a place of jealousy more than anything. You're an honest man, you see.
First they laugh at you, then they get mad at you, and then they buy duck eggs off you. No, but then what's that? First they laugh at you, then they get mad at you, and then they want to be you. So I guarantee you, this time next year, please God, we'll all still be around. Everyone's going to have a mullet in this country. Fact. We'll
start selling fucking Harden Up Podcast mullet extensions for lads that just can't grow it.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I like that idea. Yeah. And we'll put them in ourselves.
Come at our live shows.
Such a few outlads' heads. My father he's like, my mother just cut my father's hair. Jesus Christ! The other day I seen the haircut on him, and it was just she only done one side of it, like, because he's gone on top altogether. But she just like she said she has one of those battery powered
clippers
shavers, but she only did like half it, and then she had the battery went out of it. He's got half it, but like he doesn't care one bit, and it's beautiful, It's just nice about that too,
What he should do now, while he's got it on the run, he may as well fucking grow the Bobby Charlton and fucking come all the. I remember there was a fella that used to be collecting outside Mass at home and Tip, and he used to grace down the hair all across the top of the head, strands like out Homer Simpson. But it was always a windy out spot outside the church. And if he turned a certain way into the wind, she'd stand up like a fucking hay barn door up in the fucking wind.
That's reason enough to become an atheist.
Just show up to Mass just to see that.
Christ above, yeah. I reckon that those comb overs, though, I reckon that they were bigger before because people didn't have smartphones.
a lot of haircuts have changed as a result of smartphones, I think.
Big time. The whole fade now and all that shite.
Stop. Would you be arsed? Lads doing their eyebrows and every fucking thing. Like the eyebrows I want to be in a bad state now for me to even contemplate doing it with them, like.
Yeah, but in saying that now, I'm thinking about getting the ears done next time I go in, because I'm getting an awful lot of hair just in the little pocket there in the ear, and sometimes I catch myself going, I'll have to get them cut when I get home. But I don't know.
I got them.
Maybe that's crossing a line,
No, I don't know. I mean, the barber up the road had been doing mine, and I'm only after, and I had never copped. I never knew what she was doing. Never even. She'd just be snipping around there. And I swear to God, due to lockdown, I could barely keep the headphones in with the fucking bales of hay that are growing out of my hair at the minute. So,
little nests.
Little nestines. I've mullets growing out of my fucking ears. But what was I going to say? I don't know what I was going to fucking say to you, but it ended up back at mullets. We better get away out of mullets. Oh yeah. My outfit the exact same. He was shaving one day. He had the old fuzz on the sides, and he shaved one day. And whatever way the razor slipped, she went up an inch. And he went, "Well, now That's a new development. We'll see how far we'll go. Fucking took the whole lot, as he says to himself, took it down to the fucking metal, Tommy, and just left it.
Yeah.
So he
Down
to the metal by fucking all the paint gone. No paint job, no dandruff, as he says himself.
Dead right. He's dead right. So he shaved the lot off.
Shaved the fucking lot off and keeps her skin tight. Took years off him. Took fucking years off him.
I can imagine.
Away.
Yeah. Nothing to worry about now. Phil Mitchell jab.
Oh yeah, better even than Phil Mitchell. But come here, how was your weekend? How was the last couple of days since I talked to you last? It's a week since I talked to you.
That's been pretty good. Yes, the weather's been very, very bad, but everything's been pretty well. I was over at the parents' house there just to visit them, see how everything's going with them. And I was talking to my cousin in America. He was saying that things over there are nuts. He said he's never seen it so mental over there. He said everyone is shouting at everyone. He's this big American dude. He's about 6 foot, but he's very wide. He's full of tattoos. He's got a skinned head. And he said he met this woman the other day. She was about 60, only 5'2". And she's like, "Excuse me, sir, why are you not wearing a mask?" And she was right up in his face, shouting at him, giving him loads of abuse. And he was just popping in to get a bit of diesel or whatever. So he said that people over there are nuts at the moment. So it kind of got me thinking, fucking hell, sometimes, there's a lot to be said for the tranquility of Ireland too, But at the same time, another thing as well I watched Post Malone on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing the way even one small thing can affect your whole week, because as I was saying, I've been trying to get healthier, trying to get fitter and all this stuff. And I watched the video of Post Malone. He's 25 now. He was on a 3.5-hour podcast with Joe Rogan, and he drank 7 Bud Lights and he smoked 17 cigarettes in 3.5 hours. And half of me was like, Jesus, he'd want to be very careful with his lungs. And he should. But the other half of me is kind of like, fair play to him. For enjoying himself and fucking saying fuck it. Because if the world does end up finishing next year, and please God it don't, but if it does, I'd be looking back going, fuck, I should have went out that night.
Yeah, but, I mean, you can't kind of match yourself up against a man who has fucking tattooed his forehead. You know what I mean? At the same time,
stupid, man.
He's stupid. Some fucking langer. That's the new thing. With all these rappers and fellas, let's tattoo my face so I never get another job.
Yeah, there's a lady called Amber Rose. Is it Amber Rose, or did I just give a porn star name away there? But yeah, can I talk?
Oh yeah, no, fire away.
I don't want to give the game away. But there's a woman called Amber Rose, and she got her 2 kids' names on her forehead, and it's I think the kids' names are called Stash and Bash or something like that. And I think it's just how can we? I think if you're getting tattooed in your face, you're kind of I think I don't know. Is it the ego or something? I don't know what that is. That seems like a bit too much, no?
Well, you've definitely backed yourself into a corner, given your field of work, whatever it is, because you better fucking go hard at go home or whatever you're doing, because there'll be nobody down the post office going to give you a job if you if you don't make a fucking go of it,
exactly, yeah.
But I suppose you see Post Malone, he's that way. I think he's a bit of a fucking bluffer myself. I've listened to his music, and you compare it to the R&B stars of the past. The hip hop stars of the past, and you're kind of going, would you go away? You repeat yourself 17 times on every second word, But I'm not a music critic, so I'm not going to go on. But 25 years of age, smoking fags. I suppose if you're in front of Joe Rogan too, he's probably a bag of nerves. Bud Light, bit of a fruity beer.
And they took mushrooms before the podcast.
Oh, and they took mushrooms. Okay.
Yeah.
But the likes of him, you see, he'll hit 30, right? And somebody will get him cleaned up, because he'll be still worth money to somebody. It's the fucking Egypt. It's the fucking Egypt that's scratching his soul, going, sure, Post Malone smokes 17 fags. I can do that. Post Malone will be clean by age 32, and he'll have found somebody to laser off all them tattoos, and he'll become a music producer, and you'll never hear of him again. And he'll be off. There'll be no more spags. There'll be no more drink. All these fellas go wild, but because they're worth a fortune to their managers, their agents, their fucking backing singers, the fellow who drives their bus. Everybody has a bunch of wages hanging around that fella's neck. He'll be cleaned up no end by age 30. So let him smoke his fags.
Do you reckon that fame is only suitable for people from 20s to 30s? Do you reckon that that's the main time to get famous? Or I was just thinking about that the other day. Post Malone, I was thinking the same thing as you were saying there. When he hits 30. There'll be some new version of music out at that moment, and then he'll be kind of old news, and then he'll be forgotten about and thrown onto the pile. Do you reckon people can I suppose, continue to be famous, or maybe make it not to be famous, like, but make it as a musician in their 30s, or would Post Malone and the likes be forgotten about, you reckon?
You may have just seen my wife as a ghost there running by. She's getting the tape. Right. Can they get? I suppose, yeah, you could. Like, you see the likes of Robin Thicke showing up there. He was in his 30s when he had that first big fucking dropping single, you know. Albeit it was kind of creepy one with, was it Miley Cyrus sang it with him, or somebody sang it with him? It was a bit
Pharrell Williams.
Pharrell Williams. It was a bit of a weird song, but like, I don't know why he popped into my head, but lads do, like, it's, yeah, I mean, you're not of the current trend at the moment. Like, if you're going to be some 32-year-old, 34-year-old, your average 18-year-old is not going to be able to relate, you know. But it depends on what your level of fame, actually, what your markers are. You take somebody like Marty Moon or Nathan Carter, you know, he could fill. Nathan Carter could turn around and fill fucking Croke Park if he wanted. And Post Malone mightn't, you know, that kind of way. So it'll be full of old ones, you know, so who don't watch him on social media. They just, I don't know, does Nathan Carter even bother with, you know, social media or whatever.
For different breaks, I suppose, you know. I know what you mean. A different swing around, or swing around, but like, different strokes for different folks.
Exactly, yeah. So what's your measurement? Like, but yeah, I mean, if you were going to Insta famous, unless you're doing something fucking wild, you know, music-wise, no, you're not going to, the youngsters aren't going to give a bollocks about you. But we had friends over at the weekend. Did I, remember I told you about...
I should have asked you, Tom. I should have asked you, sorry, apologies.
Not at all.
How would you ask you this?
We got into, do you remember the picnic table the two picnic tables, was I telling you about them, that I got out of a skip?
Yeah.
Well, did a job on them, sanded them down, painted it up, and mates came over. It was Gordo from those conspiracy guys came over. I cooked a load of ribs. Oh, stop.
Oh. Couple of beers?
Oh, a couple of beers. No, not during the pod or during the whatchamacallit, because that was Sunday, because I was actually going to, I had to drive that evening, but I had a few beers on a different occasion over the weekend, all right, but at home. But it was you know, it was lovely having people around again. That's what I was saying, like, it's, you know, it felt social, you know. Yeah.
No, of course, yeah. It's a nice thing. It's something we've kind of all maybe overlooked, but anytime now you get to spend time with your friends and even just sitting down having a few beers, it's the nicest feeling in the world, just to be sitting with your mate and there's a bit of music playing and you're just having a few beers and there's a few more beers to be had and you're just having a nice conversation. But it almost feels a bit pre-apocalyptic, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I get you, trying to get in the good times before things go south.
It's almost like we're having the last dance, maybe, you know? Maybe I've watched too many conspiracies the last couple of days. And like, between that now, listening to certain music, it's kind of like, it feels like everyone is giving out about the world, and social media and on the phone, whoever like you're talking to or whatever sites you're checking online. A lot of people are like saying stuff like jokingly, if we get to next year, like weather, or remember how it looked last year, please God we get to next year. And I'm like, are these people joking, or, you know, what's going on?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, and then as I say that, then the friend I happen to have over is probably the top conspiracy guy in the whole fucking country.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Big shout out to Gordon Rochford. We'll have to get on his podcast someday, mishappen yourself, Tom.
Yeah, no, he's up for it. All right, he's up for it. He was just kind of offering. He was just, because he has subjects. He was going, would yourself and Owen like this one? And it was true crime ones were the one he was going to bring us in first for. So he just named it. And to be honest, I hadn't really heard of many of the true crime lads he was talking about. These were prolific killers in their own country in their own time. But I was like, what did he do? Well, he chopped off a load of heads, and his thing was into fucking, you know, bringing the heads to school with him. Oh, yeah, that sounds right up myself and Owen's story. Yeah. You know?
We get a good laugh out of that, yeah. It'll be good for the comedy career.
No, to be fair,
why not?
We just pushed him on, myself and my wife just pushed him on the existence of aliens. And what else did we push him on? Humans' existence on Earth, and are we as a result? Is there God? Just light stuff, chit chat.
Nice. Yeah. I like that. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah. Not too deep. Like, what's the meaning of life? That sort of stuff.
Pretty much. Yeah. What's the?
suppose life is like mullets. You know, what's the point of a mullet? You know, it's when you see it, it's amazing, but like there's no point to it. But it is amazing. That's a nice little cup of tea you got there, Tom.
Oh, apologies. That's for swinging it in. Can you? Little bit of home there. Little bit of home.
Cup away from me.
Yeah, you've not. If I had Galway on this cup now, that'd be a different story.
Oh yeah, true. No, I have great time for tip. Lovely spot.
So we never cross. We'd never cross each other's paths. Tip footballers are
exactly.
You know, we'd be only cannon fodder. God bless us to the likes of Mayo, but
yeah.
And then I don't think Mayo even has a hurling team, does it? Did they bother with it at all?
No, well they do actually. I think they had a lad from Cork that was up managing them, but they're no great shakes at the moment. But you give us, please God, we'll be here next year, Tom. You give us another 50 years.
I always like to think of titles for the podcast. You know, like last week was what was last week? It was floating hens and the aliens was last week.
Yeah.
And I don't want to call it this because you've said it about 50 times. Is please God we'll be here next year. I think that might be our final podcast if we ever do.
Yeah. Oh my God, how sad would that be? But that was the only recording ever left on Earth of just like played on a loop. That line, please God we'll be here next year, and the whole world is just like destroyed.
Yeah, because I think that might be the name of our tour. People would definitely come and see us then, wouldn't they? We call it "Please God we'll be here next year" tour.
Yeah. Well, it would, because we'd kind of get some sort of sympathy vote and be like, we may as well go to that gig because they mightn't be here next year.
Come here. The news. Oh, my phone. Herself is looking for my phone. Yeah, there you are. No bother, love.
I only have about another 10 minutes, Tom, unfortunately.
That's it, yeah. We'll get it wrapped up. So I quickly wanted to talk, and I can't believe you haven't brought it up, although I'm suspicious as to why you haven't brought it up, is a Mayo Ram went stone fucking mad and hammered the shit out of a poor English woman up at the whatchamacallit, the cliffs last week. Would you like to elaborate on said Ram? Because I have my suspicions as to why you didn't fucking bring it up last week.
It was apparently it was Jerry Adams in an iron jumper, but there was a mix-up. No, he was just getting really pissed off at everything, and someone said, "Why isn't that sheep wearing a mask?" And he goes, "Fuck this! I've been quiet for long enough." But no, I heard about the ram that attacked the woman. Yeah, and he gave her a fair old headbutting and gave her a bit of beating. What exactly did he do though? I didn't really hear much else about it.
You see, they were warned about this fucking ram before they went up there. And being thinking ignorant, they went, we'll go up anyway, because he was apparently up there and he was in a foul humour, whatever was after coming over him. And they said, sure, we still want to have a look over the cliffs anyway. And this ram, he nearly boxed Joanne off the fucking edge of the cliff, and just took the two friends to pull him off. By pull him off, I mean catch him by the head. Not actually pull him off. That might have quietened him down all right as well. But maybe that was what was wrong with him. He hadn't gotten a jump in a while. I don't know. And yeah, she'd go into the hospital. She'd go to hospital and everything. She got an awful going over from him. But it was only when she was going down, there was another group walking up, and they said, "Stay away. There's a fucking ram up there. He's stone cracked." And they started laughing too, but apparently one of them got the shit kicked out of him as well as soon as he went up there. But he the headline was brilliant. I don't know. I think I sent it on to you too, and you were very coy about it at the time. I still think I have my suspicions. You know this fucking ram, and you won't say it on the podcast. And I understand that one. Just for legal purposes, you can't.
Wouldn't do that to the ram nor the farmer, because that could be their pride. Pride enjoy that ram, so you don't want to get the ram taken away from them. Because you might have people online saying, "Let's cancel the ram."
Cancel culture on the ram. Well, anyway, as it turns out, he had to be taken out of Mayo. The county couldn't contain this ram, so yeah. I don't know, is he gone to live with his cousins in Wicklow or what's the crack like? But he wasn't killed. He was just taken out of the county. Big fucking county now, but they took him out of the county.
Yeah, I wonder why they took him down to Wicklow. Maybe he needed a bit of sun or something like that, and they said that's probably the reason why he's so aggressive. Get him out of Mayo get him down to Wicklow, where it seems to be a lot sunnier all the time.
So I know we're running up on an hour there now. So do you know what? We've no answer fully on the sheep. we'll stay tuned if I hear about the bastard. So we'll quickly skim through the questions here. I'll share this screen with you, just in case you can't read it.
Mm-hmm.
So some good ones. There's I know I've only sent up one page, but there was a lot of lads, and there's a fucker saying hi about the question. Hi. Yeah, fair play to you, Derek, but good man. So here's an interesting one. So straight up, Donald McSweeney. How you, Donald? He's a comic as well, I think. Has the pandemic slowly
changed? How are you getting on?
Yeah. Has the pandemic slowly changed sound lads into assholes? Noticing a lot at work. Both myself and Owen are out of work, but thanks for bringing that up there.
Yeah. I think social media has probably made people more anxious and more kind of like arguing amongst themselves, when in reality, I'd say probably day-to-day people are not as wound up as they'd appear online. So I think that people are, and I think social media as well, is it kind of plays into your ego a bit and makes you, everybody, including myself, it makes you more narcissistic, because you're putting up stuff, and like you're trying to put up the best version of yourself all the time, and you're always like, oh, this is, like if you're taking a picture on Instagram, and you might take 10 because you want to get the best one. So you're kind of always trying to put up the illusion of who you are. And I think a lot of people, especially on Facebook, they have these arguments back and forth, and it's almost like they're having an argument with a very clear idea in their mind that people are watching them have the argument. So they're trying to come across as maybe intelligent, and I've done it myself, where I've tried to say things that I thought maybe probably sounded fucking smart or whatever. But I think social media a lot of time can bring out the worst in people. But I might have gone off the answer. What was the question? How has the pandemic changed sound lads into assholes? I just think that people need to be less self-righteous. Maybe everyone needs to be a bit less self-righteous and remember that what's going on here. Because if everyone was that fucking smart, we would have known the virus was coming in the first place.
I couldn't have put it fucking better myself. So lovely. Here's a good one, and we'll finish with one I think both of us can easily answer. So here's Sharon Bestie, a long-term listener, Patreon. She's a fucking legend. So and she have a good job, Owen. She have a good job too. She's over in Canada, I believe, and she is quitting her job this week, and she's nervous about it. Any advice on handling it? Well, you've come to the right place, because never had two fellas had to be thrown into our world, out of the real world. I would imagine anyway, Sharon, you're not running out of, you didn't hit somebody a fucking belt and that's it. You haven't lost your job. You're actually just fucking quitting it. You've had enough. Do you know what? There's nothing to be nervous. And people would be nervous too for a long time. I mean, imagine living what we do. You'd be absolutely fucking grand. I don't know. Are you going? You might be able to fill me in during the week or whatever, but are you going out on your own? Are you going to take some time out? If it is just taking time out, you absolutely have nothing to worry about. You're going to be grand. Yeah. What I would do is, and it's an awful American thing to say, I would do you. No, but you know what I mean? By that, I would say, fuck me. If you want to take up crocheting, I know people were like, oh, took it up during the lockdown. I mean, what I'm saying is go off and find a First Nation tribe and sit down with them for a fucking week and see how they go about, fucking making bowerons or something, something that you couldn't do in lockdown. And what that will do, I find, that kind of stuff, it expands the own mind. It'll go, before you know it, if you're a hardworking person already and a smart, fucking affable person already, which of course you are because you're a listener to our podcast, you're going to be grand. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's only complete and
also,
utter lulas.
Exactly, yeah. Sorry, Tom, I cut across you there.
But you're right. You were about to say congrats.
No, I was going to say congrats and fair play. And I think another important thing is to give yourself a pat on the back for quitting a job, because I presume you didn't want the job, so you quit it. So. And I'm guessing that maybe she's going to start doing something that maybe she's dreamed about doing her before. So fair play to her in that one. It's good to remember that, a lot of people will say to you, oh no, stick with the steady job, but there's a lot to be said for the courage of people that do take that chance, and power to you. Life is short. We might not be here next year. No, but life is short. Even if you live till 90, life is short. So the fact that you're doing it, You know, it takes a lot of guts, and embrace the chaos of it, and embrace the unknown, because that's kind of exciting in itself, you know.
Yeah, exactly. To give you a brief example, I've met lads when I quit civil engineering. I met lads that are still civil engineering, and they're actually angry at me. Do you know that kind of way? They look 20 years older than me. They're fucking furious that I don't, I'm not angry while stomping around the world around the site, so 5-6 days a week. And it just makes me look and go, oh, yeah, yes, they have a nice steady job for getting a mortgage and all the rest of it. They have these things, but man, full well they're a tyrant when they come through the fucking door. They're a tyrant when they get into the job. They're just not happy. So, Sharon, I'm telling you now.
It's not like any job. Like, I mean, any job is great. It's just if you want to do it. Like, that's the thing. You know, it could be comedians, or it could be working in a deli, or it could be becoming a lawyer or whatever. As long as you're happy enough doing it, like, you shouldn't hold anybody back from their dreams. You know. So
exactly.
Power to her.
Power to you, Sharon. So, last question, and I'll say this in our show. Yeah, well, as you like to call him, Schleb and Kreischer, any good, or our Burr, etc., elite. The other two seem like tits. So obviously Bill Burr and Bert Kreischer have a new podcast at the minute. And obviously Schaub is with, he hangs out obviously with Joe Rogan, and he's got his podcast with, what's his name? Brian Callen, and he's off and on Theo Vaughn's one too. To me personally, I don't know Schaub. It was put, we were speaking, but there was no way basically he wanted me opening for him when he came to Ireland that time, because it was like, not a fucking prayer. He is where he is because he's Joe Rogan's friend. That's the reality of it. He's racked up maybe, 3-4 years of doing stand-up. There's no fucking way the man should be doing specials and stuff like that. And he's grand, and he's amongst elite comedians, which will bring you on. It'll bring you on no end. But as far as...
he's in the high school of comedy, with hanging out with the likes of Bill Burr.
But that's, and say, like, Kreischer is where he is because of that story he told, that one joke he had called The Machine, and it was a fat fellow who takes off his top. He's no genius, and I could name a handful of Irish comedians that will absolutely fucking bury him. And that goes from a lot of the big names. Like, Geddes was telling me he went to see, Rogan and stuff at the Joe, maybe it was Laugh Factory, or maybe it was the Cellar. But it was like, there was a bunch of names, like, that were on that lineup. And so they were trying out new stuff, but even still, your new stuff should be fucking good, But people were giving them laughs, man. Like, there was nobody's, like, they were amazing. It's the only one that showed up and behaved like a proper professional, was banging out jokes after joke, was Joey Diaz. He's just banging out jokes after jokes after jokes. But Burr, there's just nobody to touch. But like, even technically, from a technical point of view, his pacing, his timing, the way he drops in the correct words, his mannerisms, and it's better he's gotten.
Podcast is brilliant as well.
Oh, but he's just his stand-up wise. I mean, he gets on with Bert. He gets on with him, and he probably, not that he tolerates him, but he's probably really friendly with him. But a lot of these fellas, you go, oh my God, they're fucking murderers. They're murderers. And you watch and go, I think you're talking him up there to be kind. But then, of course, Burr can't turn around and go, I'm the best stand-up in the world. He can't say that.
Exactly. But I think Kreischer, I think that gimmick he has with the top off, is just a bit of fucking, like, I think he's off. I think he's and the laugh he does always, like, he's always like this fake laugh that he's really enjoying the crack. But I think that's all put on. And as for Brendan Schaub, I think he's funny. He's funny in the sense that he's kind of like a caricature almost. Like, it's kind of funny to laugh at him. Like, remember Chris D'Elia got done there recently?
Yeah.
Himself and Brian Callen were on the podcast, and Brian Callen and Brendan Schaub, as far as I remember, they both had surgery done on their eyelids. And they're both beefing over their friend who was accused of whatever. And they were like, kind of like still with, they both had sunglasses on. Oh, actually, no, sorry, it was only Brian Callen, now that I think about it, had sunglasses on. But I think the likes of Brendan Schaub, he's kind of, there's something entertaining about him. And I don't think it's his comedy, but it's just the way he goes on, like the way the clothes he wears and the way he stands around the place and the shy talk he comes out with. It's almost like ironically funny, if that makes sense.
I think he has embraced the fame thing. Like if you went back to the Ultimate Fighter when he was just a lad on the Ultimate Fighter, you know what I mean? But he has embraced the fame. You know, the Ferraris and the sneakers and all the rest of it. Like so, he like if I'm guessing a very smart manager took him on early doors. You know what I mean? And brought him through. Kreischer's been doing it a long time. He sells tickets to former frat boys. That's who he sells. The sort of lads who go to they go down to Cancun for spring break and wreck the place. That's who he plays to. Whereas Burr would be Burr's a fucking he's Jesus to watch. He's away in his own, there's like I said,
nowhere near him.
His last one there, Paper Tiger, there was a couple of turns in it where you're going, oh my God, yes, only you could get away with that. But also the timing he left between certain words, you're like, fuck me, man, you are fucking gifted. I saw him in Dublin a couple of times, and got to see him at the Vodafone Comedy Festival. We were at it, and I was drinking with Joey DeRosa, and Burr came out from doing his gig or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, hello, Mr. Burr," I was trying to play it cool, which he turned out to be a very cool cat. We got on very well after that, but he was fuming from that gig, and he rocked it. He ripped it because he said, but it was all the people by the door. He says, you see, the sunlight was coming through the side of that fucking tent, and those people at the door were being fucking distracted, and it was just fucking, and he's like, he just didn't. It was a throwaway gig to him. He went, I'm coming back here to do a proper gig as a result of that. That's fucking annoyed the shit out of him. And there was only maybe 50 people, might have been slightly, well, they weren't even because Bill Burr was on the stage. You know what I mean? That was the level he was at. There's 2,500 people in this tent, and a handful in the corner probably didn't get to enjoy it at peak, and that fucking wrecked his head. And you're kind of going, that's where you need to be. You're 25.
That's the level. That's the level I want to get to, is the Bill Burr level. But I've got to head off now, Tom. I think my Colin's coming now.
No bother at all. So that has been the podcast, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. You know what to do. Follow the two of us if you want. Follow Harden Up Podcast. Share it with your friends. Know that we are coming. Apparently, and this sounds really obvious, but Anne-Marie, she's a big time podcast listener, a fan of comedy. She basically pretty much almost runs comedy. She says Galway is the place to go for the meeting point of the pint. So it makes sense. Galway, we'll probably have to go to Galway and have a pint for our initial one.
Yeah, we're also thinking about meeting up for the next one somewhere in the middle. So let's that's not a certainty, but it'll probably be the next one or the one after. So we'll probably start. If anyone has any suggestions for different clubs or whatever like that, or I'd like to do Dolan's in Limerick. They're a lovely spot as well. They're a great venue.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right, I'm going to let you go. You've been fucking, and please God, we'll be here next week.
Tom, if I'm going to grow this fucking mullet, we're going to call it the Mullet Boys.
You know what? That might be the new name for the podcast.
The Mullet Boys. Might change to that name. What do you think?
Fuck it. I love it. All right, brother. You mind yourself, and I'll chat to you during the week. Good luck.